Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class, which is a recording of a class given by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles on May 16, 1973. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, and Text 2. So without further delay, we'll start the class. Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 tadā te bhrātaraḥ sarve sadaśvaiḥ svarṇa-bhūṣitaiḥ anvagacchan rathair viprā vyāsa-dhaumyādayas tadā te bhrātaraḥ sarve sadaśvaiḥ svarṇa-bhūṣitaiḥ anvagacchan rathair viprā vyāsa-dhaumyādayas tadā te bhrātaraḥ sarve sadaśvaiḥ svarṇa-bhūṣitaiḥ anvagacchan rathair viprā vyāsa-dhaumyādayas tadā te bhrātaraḥ sarve sadaśvaiḥ svarṇa-bhūṣitaiḥ anvagacchan rathair viprā vyāsa-dhaumyādayas tathā. At that time, all of them, bhrātaraḥ, the brothers, sarve, all together, sadaśvaiḥ, drawn by first-class horses, svarṇa, gold, bhūṣitaiḥ, being decorated with, anvagacchan, followed one after another, rathair, on the chariot, viprā, O Brahmanas, vyāsa, the sage Vyasa, Dhaumya, advayaha, and others, tathā, also. Translation. At that time, all his brothers followed him on beautiful chariots drawn by first-class horses decorated with gold ornaments. With them were Vyasa and the ṛṣis, like Dhaumya, the learned priest of the Pāṇḍavas, and others.
One very important word is here. Sadaśvaiḥ svarṇa-bhūṣitaiḥ. Formerly, the horses were used in military division. Horses, chariot, elephants, and then infantry. So not one or two, but one division of military phalanx required 60,000 horses. Akkhahini. So many horses, so many elephants, so many chariots, and so many infantry soldiers that will compose one division of soldiers. So many means I exactly remember now, 60,000 horses. So, all the horses, when they are required for procession or for going to the fight, they are well decorated with golden ornaments, svarṇa-bhūṣitaiḥ. So, just imagine all the saddles of the horse, if they are golden, ornamented, how many ounces will require to decorate the horse? And what is the price of gold now?
$128 an ounce.
Huh?
$128 an ounce.
You see, at least 50 ounces will be required to decorate one horse. Huh? And 1 ounce is $120. So what is the price of 50 ounce? Huh? $5,000. Such 60,000 horses. How much it comes? Where is that gold? They are very much proud of advancement of material civilization. But instead of gold, we find plastic. And in nonsense, they are very much proud of their wealth. Just see. Even they cannot decorate their wives. And women, they require also ornament. It is psychology. Manu-samhita. It has been recommended that if you want to keep satisfied your wife, then you must give her good food, good sari and good ornament. This is the system. Therefore, during marriage time, the girl is given by the father, according to his means, as many saris, nice saris, beautiful, costly saris, and as much as possible golden ornaments. And those are very rich, they, still in India, they give jewelries, means diamonds, pearls, sapphire, according to means. Those are richer class, they don't touch gold. They must give jewelry. This is the system. So, this is the opulence. So much gold. When the Kurukshetra battle was finished, so the treasury was also finished. The treasury of the Pāṇḍavas, that was also finished. Because war means expenditure. So many hundred thousands of pounds and dollars required daily to finance the running on of the war. So Yudhishthira Maharaj wanted to, you have got that handkerchief? No, no. Wanted to perform sacrifice. So, sacrifice means it requires money, so much grain, so many ornaments, so much gold and ghee, everything required to perform sacrifice is not ordinary thing. Millions and millions of dollars required. The Kali Yuga, because people cannot collect such costly things. Suppose ghee, tons of ghee was being offered to the fire. Where is that tons of ghee? Not available. Then all utensils made of gold, the altar made of gold. Huh? Where is that gold? Therefore, not many days before, 5,000 years, the Indian history or this world history, now it is called India, but this whole world is Bharatvarsha. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj asked his brother Dhananjaya, Arjuna, so bring some money from somewhere, otherwise how we can perform the sacrifices? We have finished all our treasury. So, Arjuna was little perplexed. The elder brother was king, and the younger brothers, they were commanders. So, Krishna saw that his friend is little perturbed, so he immediately gave information. This is God, sarvagga. He knows what to find out. He gave him information that formerly one king, by the grace of Lord Shiva, he got information of a big gold mine or gold mine mountain. So that king used to manufacture so many things of gold. Especially in sacrifice, he used to give immense dishes made of gold to the Brahmanas. So, at that time the Brahmanas were also not very greedy. So the king, during the sacrifice, gave them unlimited number of dishes of gold, made of gold. So they accepted it, but when they came out of the sacrificial arena, they thought, who is going to carry so much load? Throw it. Just see. This is opulence. As nowadays, it is our system that the plate on which you eat, that should be thrown out. Formerly, people used to eat on golden plate, at least the royal families, and after eating they used to throw away. Not for the second use. Just like India still, it is observed, earthen plate used, as here in your country, paper plate, in India earthen plate. Once used, then it is thrown. It cannot be used second time. Therefore, in rigid Hindu family, they don't use these china clay plates. They don't use it. Because it is made of earth. So, when it is earthen pot, as soon as you eat, it becomes contaminated, it must be thrown out. You cannot use for the second time. That was. So this system was formerly even for golden plates. Once used, then it cannot be used second time. It is thrown away. And thrown away means some poor man will collect. So there was no question of poverty. The rich man, they eat once and throw away. Their servants, other poor men, just like these Brahmanas, they threw away all these golden plates. Brahmanas were not required golden plate, but they were given in charity. Brahmanas you take, they accepted. But they thought it, that it is a load. Why should I carry? Throw it. So there are heaps of golden plate lying near Himalayan mountain. So Krishna was given information, Arjuna was given information by Krishna that you go there and collect those golden plates, then your purpose will be served. So Arjuna went there and collected and brought it to his brother, Maharaj Yudhishthira, for converting them into money for spending in the sacrifice. So this was the system. Therefore, Arjuna's another name is Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya means one who can conquer over riches. His brother was in need of money and he brought money. Therefore, from that day, his name was Dhananjaya. One can conquer over riches. Actually, human opulence means not these tin cars. Once it is dashed with another car, it is finished. No value. Human opulence means the society must have enough gold, enough jewelry, enough silk, enough grains, enough milk, enough vegetables, like that. That is opulence. That is opulence. Formerly, a person was considered rich by two things. Dhannena dhanavan. How much grain stock he has got at his home. A big barn filled with grains. Still, in India, if I am going to give my daughter to some family to see the family's opulence, I go to see the house, and if I see there are many barns, stock of grains, and many cows, then it is very good. It is opulent. Dhannena dhanavan, govaya dhanavan. A man is considered to be rich when he has got enough quantity of grains, enough quantity of, enough number of cows. Just like Maharaj, Nanda Maharaj, the foster father of Krishna, he was keeping 900,000 cows. And he was a rich man, he was Maharaj, king. But see the behavior, his beloved son, Krishna and Balaram, he is entrusted to take care of the calves and cows. Go in the forest. He is well dressed with ornament and nice dress, everything. All the cowherds boys, they are very rich. They have got enough grains and enough milk. Naturally they are rich. But not that the cows and the calves will be taken care of by some hired servant. No, they will take care himself. That was children's sport, to go to the forest, take the calves and cows and carry some tiffin, eat there, dance there, play there, and again come in the evening, then they will take bath and change their dress and take their meals and immediately go to sleep. This was the boys' children's engagement. So, how they would grow healthy, because they go outside and play and work, and very happily they enjoy the company. So, there is no question of becoming contaminated. Jamuna tira vanachari. Jamuna tira on the bank of the Jamuna, just like we go to the seaside, the beach, similarly there is bank of Jamuna, very nice river, and there are trees. So these boys, Krishna and his friends, with their cows, they will go and rathair on the bank of the Jamuna, and sport, and frivolities, everything, so nicely. So there was no question of education at that time. After the child is grown up, healthy, nice, then he goes to school. Otherwise, first of all, eat sumptuously, milk, butter, and sugar, and play sufficiently in open air with friends, take care of the cow. This is labor. But it is sporting, very nice. So these things were taught by Krishna himself. Although he was the son of king. Then when he was grown up, his real father took him charge, Vasudeva. Then he was, as Kshatriya, he belonged to the Kshatriya family. All other education was given, how to fight, how to rule, everything. So, this Kshatriya, this Maharaj Yudhishthira, they also Kshatriyas. So when they are going to see Bhishma Dev, they are going there in royal style, with chariots, with horse, and decorated with golden ornaments, and the Brahmins, Vyāsa-dhaumyādayas and other, all the Kshatriyas, kings should be always accompanied by hordes of Brahmins. As soon as they require any instruction, immediately consult the Brahmanas and they give good advice. Do like this. This is the business of the Brahmana. And the kings, they would not do anything without consulting. Don't think that because there was monarchy, they are all autocrat. No. If the Brahmanas would not agree, then they won't do. The Brahmanas committee, all saintly persons, learned scholars, Brahmanas, there was a committee, and the king would take their advice how to manipulate the political affairs or administration, and they would consult standard books. Just like nowadays the rascals, every day they are changing some law. Somebody told me where in Africa, every week there is change of the cabinet. Every week. And so, the full of rascals, the one rascal will fight with another rascal. So there is no stability of government. All these rascals, politicians, they are trying to occupy the post. I shall become president, I shall become secretary, and then I shall exploit the state like anything. This is the motive. Their manifestation that I am going to give you heaven if you select me president, then I shall give you heaven within 3 minutes. So these promises, they simply promise. Actually, there is nothing. But king was very responsible, as we were discussing. The Maharaj Yudhishthira was thinking of the women. Now their husbands and their sons or their fathers, so many have died. Now, how to take care of them? He was perplexed. So responsible for the children, for the brahmanas. Those were helpless. Women, children, brahmana, and old men, and cows. They must be taken first care. That was the king's duty. Children, and who is taking care of the children? Who is taking care of the woman? And who is taking care of the brahmanas? There is no brahmana. Even there are some brahmanas we are creating now. Who is taking care of us? It was the duty of the government to see to this Krishna consciousness movement. Oh, such an important movement is going on. Our first attention should be how this movement can go on. So nice character, so nice behavior, so nice knowledge, so nice consciousness of God, so pure, and the government has no attention. They are thinking it is something sentimental. And all the politicians going to the brothel and drinking and dancing naked, they are all first class people. This is the position of the society. No care for the living entities who are very important. Just like in this verse, viprā. Maharaj Yudhishthira is always accompanied by brahmanas. Without Brahmanical culture, what is the value of the society? There is no value. It is animal society. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita recommends chaturvarṇam vyāsa-dhaumyādayas gunakarmam vibhāgas. Here you cannot find all one class of men. That is not possible. There is those rascals who are trying to have a classless society. No class, all one. That is rascal. That is not possible. There must be classes. That is scientific. Why? Because this material nature is being conducted under three modes. First class, second class, third class. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. So how you can make classless society? There must be divisions. There must be classes. Colorful. So it has to be scientifically arranged. How all classes can cooperate for one purpose and they develop very nicely in Krishna consciousness. Therefore Krishna says, chaturvarṇam vyāsa-dhaumyādayas. Maya-system means anything created by God, you cannot nullify it, you cannot reject it. That is not possible. You have to accept it and possibly utilize it. Therefore devotees, they take it for granted. Even there is distressed condition of life, they take it that it is created by God. I am now in distress. It is creation of God. So why shall I hate it? Let me tolerate. Let me undergo this distress condition of life. Just like suppose you are suffering from cough. Now there has been some hygienic law disregarded, so I am caught cold and cough. So why shall I deride upon it? It must be created either you say by bodily nature or by God. So long it is there, let me suffer patiently. It has come, it will go. That is instruction in the Bhagavad Gita. Agama paina anitya. distress condition or happiness also, so-called happiness. Here there is no happiness. Everything is distress condition. But we are so fool that we consider distress condition as happiness. This is called Maya. Distress condition as happiness. For example, suppose you have to go to see a friend, and nowadays, friend or anything, not less than 10 miles. So you have to go 10 miles and then see your friend and then do your work. So I am taking the trouble of going 10 miles to see a friend or 30 miles to see a medical practitioner, but I am very much proud of my car, that I have got a car. I don't consider that although I have got car, still I have to waste so much time, I have to take so much trouble, and there is every possibility of accidents. So many calamities are awaiting me. But we think that now we have discovered this horseless carriage, we are advanced. Similarly, if you study every item, you will find that although you have created by the modern scientific advancement a little comfort of life, side by side, we have created many discomforts that we do not find. That is the ways of this material nature. The ways of material nature is that you cannot remain in comfort. That is not possible. By laws of nature. Titab jantana, three kinds of miseries, adhyati, adhibhoti, adidaivi. They must be there, always. Just like I am your spiritual master, you have kept me very nicely to your best capacity, but I am coughing. I am coughing. So, even if we are situated in one kind of comfortable position, then another uncomfort will come and attack. That is called three division. Adhyatik, adhibhautik, adidaivi. Or there is no cough, or there is no trouble, but you receive one very unsatisfactory letter from a friend, you become very sorry. This is called adhyatik, pertaining to the mind, pertaining to the body. Adhyatik, adhibhautik, troubles offered by other living entities, and adhidaivik, trouble offered by the higher authorities. There's the excessive heat, you cannot control. Excessive cold. So, in this material world, we have to work very hard under these three kinds of miserable conditions of life, and we are actually doing that. Still we are thinking that we are happy. And after all, after doing this, we have to change this body. That means death. We cannot avoid it. And still we are thinking that we are happy, and we have no sense to try to understand actually what is the standard of happiness, where that happiness can be had, if it is possible. These things are understood or answered by this Krishna consciousness movement. That is the importance of the Krishna consciousness. All round. It is not one-sided that we are thinking of Krishna. Thinking of Krishna means thinking of everything, because Krishna is everything. Without Krishna, there is no other thing. Aham Krishnasya, there is that verse. There is the same chapter. Prabhava pralayas tathā. Prabhava pralayas tathā. In this world, there are two things, prabhava and pralaya. Prabhava means generation, generating, and pralaya means annihilation. Two things. Everything, whatever you take, it is generated at a certain point and it will end at a certain point. So Krishna said, aham Krishnasya sarvasya prabhava pralayas tathā. That is the ultimate cause. Janmadasya jataha. We don't take simply generation. Generation, maintenance and annihilation. Three things. Just this body is born at a certain date. It remains for a certain period and then it is annihilated. So everything material means it has a beginning. It is born or it is manufactured at a certain point. It keeps for some time, then it is destroyed. Therefore the Vedanta Sutra says, Janmadasya jataha. Janma sthiti pralaya. So, to understand Krishna means to understand everything, how it is generated, how it is maintained, and how it is annihilated. That is full Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees, for coming. This is a wonderful lecture, telling us so much about life, the reality of life. Everything is temporary. Anyone that thinks that they're going to get happiness here, they are actually, in many ways, an illusion. But it takes a while of listening and the arguments coming up to realize that that's the situation we're in. But when you think, well, what do you expect in a place that's jail anyway? We just don't think we're in jail. But once you understand it that way, then these things are not surprising to hear, because one should not expect wonderful things in jail. Our home is in the spiritual world. Anyway, so devotees, this is the time to have discussion. You want to ask a question, or you want to share some of the realizations that you had from this lecture, or connect it with other things that you've heard from other lectures. You can do all of that here. You just need to unmute yourself and go for it. Hare Krishna. So, any suggestions? Any realizations? So while the Buddhists are thinking about it, I'll share some of the things, some of my takeaways. So Srila Prabhupada, personally, I like when he talks about some things and he gets into some figures that, because most of the figures I don't know, some of them I've learned, but some of them, when they come up like that, it particularly interests me. So he was talking about Maharaj Yudhishthira. Of course, he's a Kshatriya, the military general. And at that time, they had different divisions. And Akshauhini was described in terms of the number of horses, but he was making a point about that. In Akshauhini, there are 60,000 horses. 60,000 horses. But and the Kurukshetra war, the Duryodhana had 11 of that, Akshauhini. Akshauhini is not just horses, elephants and infantry and those, walking, on the ground also, and then some were riding chariots. They're all part of it. But the horses part 60,000. And Srila Prabhupada described that the saddles for the horses were made of gold. And one saddle would take 50 ounces of gold. And for one Akshauhini, 60,000 saddles. So if you multiply 60,000 by 50, you get 3 million, which means 3 million ounces of gold. And 1 ounce of gold now is well over, I mean, I think you can search in the internet now, maybe $1,000 or $2,000. The price of gold is high now. And so in the thousands, and if you needed 3 million and of those, then of course you're talking about billions, multi-billions of dollars for one Akshauhini. And there were 18 Akshauhinis between the Yadans and the Pāṇḍavas, the two sides. And if one just to saddle the horses alone, and then you have to saddle the elephants with gold too, and the chariots with made of gold. This is so much. So anyway, when he talked about it, he said women also have to have ornaments. It's a duty of the father to give daughter good food, sari, and gold ornaments. And then he said now people are buying plastic. The plastic is worthless. Anyway, Yudhishthira wanted to perform sacrifice. And in a sacrifice, you need tons and tons of ghee and also gold to perform sacrifice. But at the end of the Kurukshetra war, the treasury was depleted because so much had to be used, the funds in order to fund the war. So when Yudhishthira wanted to perform sacrifice, there was no funds for performing it. So Yudhishthira asked his younger brother Arjun to find money. And Arjun didn't know what to do. So Krishna came to the rescue and informed Arjun that there was a wealthy king who had performed program, function, sacrifice. He had invited so many brahmanas. And at that time, when you feed them, they use, when it comes to eating, they use golden plates. But their golden plates were considered disposable. Not like paper plates that we eat once and throw away. They were also eating once and throwing the plates away, but these were golden plates. And some of the plates were actually donated to the brahmanas who came. But gold is very heavy. Very, very, very heavy. Sometimes people say, oh, lead is heavy. Actually, gold is more dense than lead. Gold is more than 1.5 times heavier than even lead, based on chemistry, the densities. So gold is very heavy. And so when the brahmanas were given all of these plates, they said, how are we going to carry these plates? So they just left them, a whole lot of them. And so Krishna told Arjun where they were left around the Himalaya mountains. So Arjun went there and collected all of that. He said that sometimes the kings, when they have a big feast based on whatever function that they have, again, they also, at that time, they dispose of the gold plates, and the poor people will go pick those up when they get to know where the gold is. And then they can just clean the plates out, and then they have gold that they can also, deal with their, money situation with it. So Arjun was called Dhananjaya, one who can conquer over gold. For that, that thing that he did, going to find the gold. He got a name from that particular service. So wealth depends on how much gold, jewelry, silk, how much grains, milk, vegetables. He said that still in India, wealth has to do with how much grains and cows a person has. And then it's not too surprising when you think about it. That's what actually supports us. Grains and the cows that give milk. With milk products there and medicines. Cow urine is medicine. Cow is very, very valuable alive than dead. People actually kill cows for meat. After the cow stops giving milk, then they kill the cow. But even still, the cow urine is very useful even at that time. And then the cow manure is used as fuel, and the cow manure also fertilizes the fields. So there is no reason to get rid of cows for whatever that this modern, so-called modern civilization thing. So some things were pointed out. It'd be interesting to know all of these. So later on, when things change and the lifestyle, this plastic lifestyle and so-called technological advancement gets changed, then we know how to really live properly on this earth. So it's nice when Srila Prabhupada brings these points up as when people were living in harmony with this planet, what actually was done. And the Maharaj personally had 900,000 cows. And of course the cows give birth to calves, so it was constantly increasing, and he would give some of them away as gifts. And he also said the cow herd, but when they were young, the boys, they would take the cows to the forest, and they have their tiffins, with the meal for the day. They would eat, play, they would take care of the cows as the cows were grazing, and then they just play around with Jamuna. And then they would have their lunch, and then they'll rest. And then later on, go with the cows. The cows finished feeding on grass. They take them home, take a bath, change clothes, eat, and then go to sleep. For the young boys, that was what was happening with that. And it was only after the child grows later, which means he'll go well past 10, 12, thereabouts, then they go to school. And this is when they begin to learn. And the Brahmanas were the ones that were teaching at the time. So that was the system. Yudhishthira went to see Bhishma for advice because Kshatriyas take advice from Brahmanas. And he mentioned, particularly in Africa, and this is true, so many, they call them coup d'etats, the military that doesn't do anything, fight any wars. And they get this ground tilled with the government because the government has so many thieves in there stealing the money. The fancy word for it is now embezzlement, but it's just plain stealing of government funds meant for taking care of the people. Then the military take over, but the military is not trained in how to run the government. And so many times, other military people join with their friends and they go overthrow another military government. And then they also get in and do the same thing the politicians were doing, stealing the money. So it gets us nowhere. The people just remain poor. But a king's duty is to take charge of women, children, brahmanas, old men, and cows. It was supposed to be the government that should take care of the brahmanas. Because without brahmanas, there cannot be a good society. The brahmanas are the ones that advise the king so that the king does not get into Maya. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, the text 13, it says, Chaturvana Maya Shishtam Gunakama Vibhagasa. We cannot have a classless society. Chaturvana, 4 varnas. 4 varnas. Brahmans, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Brahmans are the teachers and the holy people that teach life based on mode of goodness and also spirituality. Kshatriyas are the politicians, and they are also the same division concerned with the military. So politicians running the government and also protecting the people. Vaishyas are the business people, and as we talked about, wealth is depending on how many cows and so on. So cow protection was done by the Vaishyas. Shudras are the employees. Like that. That is the system. And Maya Shishtam means created by God. 4 varnas are created by. So he also talked about the situation here on the earth. There's distress side by side with whatever little material happiness that there is. And devotees are advised to tolerate the distressful condition because everything is set up by God. As Lord Brahma says, the Lord is the cause of all causes. So this is set up by God and it's temporary. Every condition is temporary. After a while, it goes away. And Srila Prabhupada says, actually, in the material world, it's all distress. We just take distress as happiness. That's the illusion. Funny, I was thinking about it this morning and laughing about it, how much illusion that many of us are in, thinking that this is a wonderful life, when in fact it's not. Now we think we advanced because we created cars, or as the Papa says, horseless carriages, because first they used to be carriage and a horse was one that drew it, but now we have cars. But side by side, whatever is created, there are problems. Everything that's created, there are problems. We have cars, well, you don't have an accident between two horses. It doesn't happen. But we have an accident between two cars. Sometimes very bad. The weather alone can cause accidents in the roads because we have cars. So cars are faster than horses, but cars give us accidents too. So with everything that we say we advance, then there's a certain problem that's attached to it. And so we never really become free of anxiety. That's why this world is like that. So whatever we do, there will be some problems. He gave an example of himself. He says, devotees are taking very good care of him. But at the time, he was coughing. There's nothing they could do about that. The body is the way it is. And he's a pure devotee, and he was really explaining even how much care that he got. Still, you can't get away from disease. And that is the material world. We cannot remain in comfort. Totally. It's not possible in the material world. There's the atmic, adibhotic, and adivic. And those are troubles from the person's own mind, our own minds. And two big ones are fear and depression. That's from our own minds. Adibhotic is troubles caused by other entities, criminals, germs that make us sick, and so many things that happen from others. And the Adidevic is the situation caused by the devas or demigods, mostly the weather situation. It can attack us any time. But we live through it and we say that this life is wonderful. No, it's not. It's actually jail, and the covering of a jail is the sky. And this is why we do Krishna consciousness, to get out of jail. So to understand Krishna, Srila Prabhupada says, it means to understand everything. How it's generated, how it's maintained, how it's annihilated. That's the life here. And then when we chant, by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, we get out of this anxiety situation and we go to the place where there will never be anxiety, forever and ever, unending. And that is the gift that Krishna consciousness gives the world now. Hare Krishna. Any final comments? We are just at 9 o'clock, just a minute before. If not, then again, thank you very much for coming on every day that we listen. We learn some more about life, and then reality hits us some more. So that's all good for us. We can discuss and also tell our friends and family members, literally feed them little by little so they also get to understand the situation they're in and how to get out, if they're willing to do what we do, chant the holy name of the Lord. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Again, thank you and have a nice rest of your week in Krishna consciousness. Hare